Hello everybody, Sean from Talking Fandom and such here, and today we're going to be talking about some Home Alone fan theories. Home Alone has a lot of really crazy fan theories, and these are some of my personal favorites, so I thought I'd share them with you. Let's get started. So the first one, and probably one of the most famous ones, is one that says that Elvis Presley appeared as an extra in the airport scene in Home Alone. Well, this would be insane if it was true. And the director has actually gone on record as saying if this was true, he would have known if Elvis was on the set, and of course he would. However, the actor that this actually was a man named Gary Richard Grotz. And Gary Richard Grotz looks like he would have been about 55, which was the age that Elvis would have been if Elvis had been alive at that time. Now, what makes it insane is that, yes, the director said if he was on the movie at the time, if it was Elvis, he would have known it. And the thing of it is, he did know he did know Gary Richard Grotz. He actually did. He, in fact, ran across him on a street and said, hey, you look good. You know, you look like you're very interesting looking. I think you would make an excellent extra in some films. And boom, the rest is history. Can you believe it? So that is just an insane thing to think about. That people honestly thought this was Elvis, to the point where, to this day, it is one of the most well-known theories out there. And it is one of my personal favorites, because looking at the guy, yes, he does look like Elvis, and you could theorize that this guy is Elvis, but there are a number of people who know better. So we can disprove that one as a theory, and keep in mind every theory in this can pretty much be disproven. But fan theories are fun. So now that we got the extra Elvis appeared theory out of the way, let's jump into a few of my absolute favorite theories. It's no secret, people who know me know that I like time travel. I love time travel movies. I love the Doctor Who series that sometimes travels back in time. Star Trek sometimes travels back in time. Everything that travels back in time, I'm kind of a fan of. So, yes, of course, I love this theory. The theory goes that old man Marley is in fact Kevin McAllister from the future. So how insane is that? That he is Kevin McAllister from the future. Why does this work? Well, this works simply because both of them have family issues. Remember that old man Marley says that he's having a problem with his son. His son doesn't want to see him anymore because he may have been a little bit mean to him in the past. Didn't really take into consideration some of his son's needs or whatever, right? And Kevin's the same way. Kevin gets mad over a cheese pizza. And understandably so, if you have that much kids, in the room, and you know that one of them needs a cheese pizza, but that's kind of the instigator of the whole Kevin has to be punished and go upstairs. So one little event actually changed everything. And the thing of it is, that event actually is important because remember that if Kevin had stayed home alone and not set traps for the wet bandits, then they would have robbed his house. Let's say in the original timeline that he called the police like a normal scared child would do, or better yet, see, Here's the thing. If he wouldn't have thought to call the police, how would he have been rescued? Well, we know that the cops showed up to save Kevin. And he didn't answer the door because he was afraid of Old Man Marley. Now, why is this important? Think about Old Man Marley. He comes out and says basically that he made his family disappear. He's not afraid anymore, whatever, right? Old Man Marley is there to scare him. If Old Man Marley hadn't been there to be a constant scare to Kevin McAllister, he wouldn't have set the traps to the wet bandits, and ultimately, the house would have been robbed, Kevin would have been devastated, grown up, and had a dislike for Christmas and the holidays as a whole. This would lead to Old Man Marley, as he's called, Old Man Marley, who's really Kevin McAllister, not getting, to interact with his family as much on Christmas, not being a great grandfather to his grandchildren, and all this other stuff that's hinted here. And that's the thing. So the theory goes that Old Man Marley, as Kevin from the future, brings his family back to the past with him to save himself from the events that ruined his life. I like that theory. I think that's a fun one. And, let me know. Do you like that theory? I'm sure we can all sit and pick it apart. And if you have any reasons why this doesn't work, let me know in the comments below. Because I have several reasons why this doesn't work, but it's still fun to theorize. Another one of my personal favorites is that Harry and Marv were hired to rob all these houses by Uncle Frank. It is all Uncle Frank's fault. Every last thing. Uncle Frank set it all up. He did this because he wanted to rob the houses. Uncle Frank is evil. Basically, he arranges the events that occur, putting the tickets in a certain place so they would be knocked over after he intentionally allows the kids to eat Kevin McAllister's cheese pizza so that he can't have it, knowing he'd have a fit, knowing his parents usually put him in the attic to calm him down. He then also says that they have to wake up early when asked what they have to do. This reminds the family that they have to wake up early, leading them to go to bed earlier than what they were going to go to bed, ultimately making them forget about Kevin McAllister. He then invites the kid from next door over to the McAllister house, knowing that the kid would be wearing a similar hat. Maybe he even gave him the similar hat. Then he has this kid get counted among the kids so that everyone thinks that Kevin is there, knowing that they would not check and ultimately would not find Kevin until it was too late. So then they find out Kevin's missing on the airplane, and he compares Kevin missing to him leaving his reading glasses of all things. Now, if that's not a truly evil man, tell me what isn't. Now, then also you have to realize that there's a scene where they all are on the phone, and the one girl comes up to the mom and is telling her everybody's made phone calls. They're calling everybody they know. We see Frank over by the phone. He's not on the phone. Sometimes in theories they say he's on the phone, that he's in fact calling the wet bandits, and this isn't true. He might have been on the phone calling them. He seems pretty relaxed sitting there like this. Like he's not on the phone, but he's just relaxed and chill, like he isn't really hyper to get back. Maybe he didn't call anyone. Maybe he called the wet bandits. But ultimately, it doesn't look like he cared that Kevin was missing. Now, this is funny because I've heard a rumor, and I don't know that this is true. And if anybody in the comments knows whether this is actually true or not, I would be incredibly interested if you could find proof of this. But ultimately, in the original script, it was in fact Uncle Frank that paid the wet bandits to rob the house. Now, I find this to still be kind of an interesting theory because even though it might have been in the original script, it was taken out, he's just a jerk. Well, what if he's still supposed to be that guy? And the wet bandits come, they don't know Kevin's there. They can't leave Kevin alive, so ultimately he knows that by Kevin staying there, his least favorite nephew is going to die. That's what makes that one of the most outrageous, crazy theories out there. Now, the other one that I've heard that I personally like is that Peter McAllister is a mob boss. Now, there's several things that actually are said to support this theory. For example, when Harry comes dressed as a police officer and he asks him if he's the owner of the house, the father says, whoa, whoa, whoa. You know, Peter's like, whoa, am I in trouble, officer? That's not exactly something you think he would do. Although I know a lot of people who would personally answer that question that way. I'm just saying. But in terms of a movie, in terms of this theory, it supports the fact that he was concerned that maybe this officer was coming in to check him out, knowing that he's a mob boss. Well, then there is the fact that in the book adaptation, and this is true, in the book adaptation, it states that he is in business. That's all it says, that he is in business. Like, what business? It doesn't say. All they specifically tell you is he's in business. Normally, when you hear someone is in business, it's a crime type of business. It's not necessarily legal. Oh, it's the business. Yeah. Wink, wink. Yeah. So there is that. And then also the wet bandits, when they go to rob the house, they are in fact referring to this as the Big Score. The Big Score is a film noir movie, but wouldn't it also be a big score if you knew that a mafia, that some sort of organized crime lord was living at this house? You know there would be money. If they went away on vacation, would be the only time that you could actually rob their house. And then there's the fact that they don't bat an eye when this Italian-sounding person shoots off a gun inside the house, referring to snakes and all that. In fact, it's funny because they actually debate whether or not they know a man named Snakes. So a lot of that is kind of strange. But that's not even the strangest one. One of the strangest ones is that Harry and Marv are in fact Christmas spirits. This is how they survive all the ordeals that Kevin puts them through. Kevin makes a wish that pretty much says that, he wants his family to disappear. So just like in the movie Scrooged, the Christmas spirits come to rescue him. Only in this case, there's only two, Marv and Harry. And their whole job is to actually show Kevin what he's missing in not having his family around and not celebrating Christmas the way it should be. And it's actually notable that it's very odd that the same two guys would meet up with him again in the sequel, all the way in New York. Maybe they were sent there because he learns a lesson about humility in that movie, and he also learns a couple other lessons, like the importance of helping others. So what do you think about that theory? That one I find to be a little bit crazy. It's a little bit weird. I like it. But that doesn't compare to the next theory. The next theory actually states that Gus Polanski is the devil. Gus Polanski is the character played by John Candy, and he appears in the same scene with the extra who looks like Elvis. Now, it's kind of weird because near the airport in Scranton, there's said to be a crossroads. And at any time you have a crossroads, you have the opportunity to make a deal with the devil, according to legend. Now, she says, I would even sell my soul to the devil himself. And the devil hears. And the devil comes. And the devil is Gus Polanski, the polka singer, and it's funny because in a lot of times in movies and legends, the devil is portrayed as being musically talented. There's so many musicians, in fact, that sell their souls to the devil, if you believe these origins, if you believe these rumors, these legends and everything. And that's kind of another interesting thing, that he would also be musically inclined, sort of come up to her right after she says that and ask her how he can help. Well, also, if you know anything about making deals with the devil in fiction and in legend, it never turns out the way you think. And it doesn't turn out the way she thinks. In fact, if she had stayed with the family and just caught the next plane, she would have in fact arrived at the same basic time that they did, and everything would have turned out fine. So, there is that. But perhaps the craziest one is that little Kevin McAllister grew up to be the Jigsaw Killer. Now, this requires some stretching, but it's not a bad theory. They both have a kind of violent streak, as you see when Kevin attacks his brother Buzz, causing the tickets to get milk on them and everything. And then ultimately he has to go up to the attic. All of that fits. He also displays a little bit of affinity for recording. And then he also tends to actually like to watch. He's infatuated with his neighbor who he believes to be a serial killer, who sliced up his family. And, and then there's the fact that his traps, every one of his traps is not actually, well, a majority of them anyway, are not actually meant to hurt the people unless they interact with the traps. It's not until they interact with the traps that they get hurt. So all that kind of fits. And what would Kevin McAllister grow up to be? And a lot of people ask the question, well, what about his name? Kevin McAllister is not, the Jigsaw Killer. The names are completely different. Well, maybe he changed his name. Maybe he was in witness protection after the events of the second movie. Well, now we know that Kevin McAllister appears in a sequel or two, played by a different actor. But, maybe eventually, after so much drama, his entire family, or at least him, is put into some sort of witness protection program. Maybe years later, he's put into witness protection. He becomes the Jigsaw Killer. So, let us know what you thought of any of the theories in this video. Leave us a comment talking about it. There's a lot of interesting theories out there. And if you want more theory videos about movies, definitely let us know that too. Remember that we try to be positive on this channel. We're the nice channel, because YouTube doesn't have a lot of those. Now, Miko wants you to subscribe, and look at this face. You know you want to subscribe, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, because that helps. And also leave pop that notification bell so that you know when we do our next video, because you're not going to want to miss it. We have a lot of great content coming. And if you made it this far, I have a special treat for you. This Thursday, I'm going to be doing my no spoiler review of Spider-Man No Way Home. So you don't want to miss that. So make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss it. And then, friends, at the end of the day, remember to be safe out there, and fandom is family.